Doctor Who was good, wasn't it? Before we go into the story itself, can we just pause for a moment to think about how pointless the 2 episode titles for this story were? I'm guessing the titles came first, and at some point in the creative process, Stephen realised he wanted to do a completely different story. I don't know, that's like the best idea I can come up with as to why this is happening. And as a side note, before I talk about episode 2, I just want to mention the scene from last week in which Davos is talking about the Daleks and the Dalek instinct just before they kill Clara. Maybe I was just distracted by Clara dying and how great that was. But Stephen writes Davos brilliantly there. It's fascinating and engaging and he just nails the character. Right, onto this episode. As much as I enjoy Peter Capaldi as an actor, I'm still not entirely sure what kind of an incarnation he is. I mean, we've gone from 100% rebel Time Lord, no gimmicks, to sonic sunglasses and electric guitars riding on tanks. I mean, I don't really know what's going on, do you guys? But ignoring all that, can I just say how much I loved watching the Doctor glide around a room full of Daleks in Davros' wheelchair? It's a joy to watch and an almost iconic moment, but the best part about it is you can tell Peter Capaldi is having an absolute blast. You know, even though Clara's dead. Actually, no, he must be having an absolute blast. Of course. It's one of those things that kind of makes you wonder, why haven't they done this before? Yes, we've had Tom Baker, you know, pushing Davros along, but surely, like, all the Doctors at one point have thought, wouldn't mind actually having a ride in that if you were, you know. This episode has 2 viewpoints, that of the Doctor and Davros in the heart of the Dalek city, and then there's Clara and Missy trying to make their way in from the Skaro wilderness. Michelle Gomez is one of the best things to happen to Doctor Who since Peter Capaldi. In fact, actually, no, she is the best thing to happen to Doctor Who since Peter Capaldi. I still don't think of her as the master, but Missy makes Clara's scenes so watchable. I particularly enjoyed the moment where she pushed Clara down a hole. Brilliant. Fantastic. Oh, if only it had been just a bit deeper. Maybe 50 feet. It almost made me want to buy a Missy action figure for 20 quid. Wouldn't it have been amazing if we'd had Missy as a companion this series? Genuine conflict with genuinely engaging characters. If only the Doctor had shot Clara. Well, I suppose it's a bit mean of me to be... No, it's not. The highlights of this episode are, of course, Julian Bleach's Davros scenes. Being able to see his eyes and the vulnerable side to this crazy dictator, creator of the Daleks. It was almost tear-jerking and genuinely moving on first viewing. Unfortunately, on multiple viewings, the impact is kind of lost and the scenes themselves cheapened by the fact that Davros is, you know, faking it. And all those different Daleks being together, yeah, that was just hollow, nonsensical fan service, just like showing Tom Baker and William Hartnell in the pre-titles for some reason. Never mind. The final shot of the Doctor and Davros walking away into the mist had a lot of impact, but I kind of felt like the climax itself was not very rewarding, certainly not as much as I was hoping it would be. Okay, so Davros wants to make an army of Dalek Time Lord hybrids, you know, like that tea party in New York, yeah, the one with Laszlo, you know what I'm talking about. And before we get a chance to understand the threat that Davros is posing, seriously, what is going on? Is Davros going to regenerate? Are the Daleks going to regenerate? Are the Daleks going to get new casings? What? The Doctor saves the day because I bribed the architect first. Also, when the ground was opening up, why didn't the Daleks just elevate? You know, they can do that. I mean, there were tons of them floating about outside. Does that mean there's still loads of Time Lord Dalek hybrids knocking about? But the Doctor was too quick rubbing his hands together and going, right, job done, 90 minutes is up, to bother with it. Usually at the end of a story, certainly a story as big as this, you'd expect for it to end with characters and circumstances changing and developing. But nothing very much seems to come of this story. At all. Clara and the TARDIS are still happening, the Daleks are still there, Davros is back to normal. The only real difference is the potential alliance between Missy and the Daleks, which will probably only last about, you know, 1 story at some point next year. Or 2017 if there's not enough room in 2016, which, you know, if rumours are to believe, there may not be. I think the best way to sum up the story is a lot of great moments poorly connected. The Doctor playing an electric guitar riding a tank, Clara and Missy exploring the Dalek sewers, Clara and a Dalek, the Dodgem moment. They're all great moments by themselves, but pushed together it just feels like a checklist of stuff that's kind of poorly connected instead of a well-structured story. I really enjoyed this story, particularly the second episode, but it kind of just left me feeling a bit hollow. Maybe it just wasn't a satisfactory enough conclusion to me. Let us know what you think of the episode below in the comments, and you can also vote on the FiveWF website. Let us know what you think. At the moment it's doing quite well. Anyways, hope you guys all enjoy next week's Doctor Who episode. I will not be watching, but I'll probably buy the box set at some point and binge on it for funsies. But do I have the right
to get the Bobby Davos plot 100% accurate.